You are completely full, genuinely comfortably full. And there is still food left in the bag, already opened, sitting right there, and some part of you feels a real, specific pull to just finish it anyway. Not because you are actually hungry, but because leaving it half-eaten feels for reasons you have never once examined, like leaving something unfinished that should not be unfinished. You close the bag, put it away, and open it again 20 minutes later anyway. Carl Jung had a genuinely relatable explanation for why an opened, unfinished bag of food can feel like a small, nagging obligation completely disconnected from actual hunger. John believed that the mind has a genuine, deep-seated discomfort with incomplete open loops of any kind, a preference for closure and completion that operates well beyond situations that actually require it. An open bag of food represents to this part of the mind an unfinished task, a loop still technically open, and this discomfort with leaving it open operates almost entirely separately from your actual physical hunger, which has nothing at all to do with whether a task feels complete or incomplete. This explains why the pull to finish the bag persists even when your body has already sent every possible signal that it does not need or want any more food, since the discomfort driving the pull is not actually about hunger at all. It is about an unrelated, deeply automatic preference for closed loops over open ones. One that latches onto a nearly empty bag of chips with exactly the same discomfort it would apply to any other small unfinished task left sitting incomplete. Here is the genuinely delightful part of understanding this. This is not evidence of poor self-control or a genuine lack of willpower around food. It is one of the most universally shared quirks there is, the mind's harmless but persistent preference for closure, latching onto something as mundane as an open snack bag purely because it represents at some small and automatic level an incomplete loop asking to be closed. There is one small, genuinely useful thing worth doing with this understanding, if you would rather not finish food you do not actually want. It helps to deliberately close the loop in some other way, sealing the bag completely, putting it somewhere out of sight, or simply telling yourself plainly that this specific loop is now considered closed regardless of what remains inside it. This small, deliberate act of manufactured closure often satisfies the same underlying discomfort just as effectively as actually finishing the food would have. Think honestly about the last time you finished something you did not actually want simply because it had already been opened or started, and consider whether actual hunger was really driving that decision or whether it was this much older, much more general preference for closing an open loop. Right below the single word for the food you most reliably finish purely because the bag is already open. Naming it with a genuine laugh rather than any guilt is a real and completely universal way to appreciate one of the more charming and more harmless quirks nearly every person quietly carries around with them. Because finishing a bag of food you did not actually want was never, according to Carl Jung's understanding, evidence of poor self-control. It was your mind's very old, very general discomfort with incomplete loops, quietly attaching itself to something as small and mundane as a nearly empty snack bag.